everybody, and welcome to Storyteller Corner. I am Nightshade Muse, and I am a longtime role player way back to AOL dial-up. And I have with me today a co-host, the wonderful Dwarven Egg Official.
Hello, Dwarven Egg Official. I as well am a very long time roleplay aficionado, you would say. Over 20 years of experience, and some of it being as a professional writer for roleplay experiences.
Well, today we're bringing you the topic of backstory, which can be a little intimidating, but this can be a process that is as complex or as simple as you'd like it to be. Some communities or games will have specific requirements for how your backstory is designed, but in the case of our lovely Beehole RP, creativity, all hail Beezus, creativity is definitely encouraged. This conversation will cover universal facets of character design, backstory development from our perspectives as both players and people who have crafted story experiences for others. And we hope that this helps you along your journey to crafting the best character and experience that you can have. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think everybody's going to get a lot out of it.
Yeah, so the simple thing is, what comes first? So we have the chicken or the egg argument, which is, do you come with something that's fully formed, or the egg, which is something that's not so fully formed? So I'm gonna tackle the chicken concept. So that's where you have something where you already picture it in your mind. You have a character that you're already ready to go. You know so many of the key bullet points about them. Like for example, you have someone who's a Native American ex-con from San Andreas. He has no family. All his friends were killed in some massive shootout, that he doesn't want to talk about it. Now he's drifted into town. And you can leave it that kind of open-ended, wispy, little tales that you can pull on later, but you kind of already have something that's half-baked, at least.
Sure, and to be on the opposite side of that, you have the egg. An egg would be something that has no concept. Maybe you're new and you just don't know what you want to be or how you want to play your character. There's nothing wrong with that. We call it the no concept zygote. And now you're going to be sitting there thinking to yourself, well, how do I figure out what I want? It's pretty simple. You could take inspiration from protagonists and villains, maybe from some of your favorite books or movies, things like that, and maybe push them together. Take a couple of qualities from this person or that person and just kind of push them together. A really good place for you to start coming up with concepts would be what resonates with you. And what are the things that you're going to enjoy, and just things such as music or anything like that. So do some research.
Yeah, absolutely. Research is a great way to find out more about something that you might be interested in. For example, I had a character who came from a different cultural background than my own. And so I spent some time doing some research about different cultural traditions, how they would necessarily present themselves in public rather than private, and get a little more of a feel for the type of vibe that you're trying to give off with that character. And it can be super helpful if they're coming from a place that you're not familiar with as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The important thing to remember is whether you come with a fully formed chicken or you're that zygote egg, no matter what, remember, it's not going to go the way you think it is.
There will always be surprises, absolutely. And there is a third way to kind of feel it out, and that I like to call it is appearance reverse engineering. So you create the character, you're just messing around, you kind of find a look that's working for you. So you see, all right, I like the way this character looks. I like the hair, I like the vibe, I like the clothes. So what vibe do they give? What look do they serve? And then you can work backward from there. What type of person is the person who presents themselves in this way? How would they sound? What type of job would they have? What type of history led them to be like this? And so in those ways, you can use those little daydreams that I feel a lot of us have when we pass people on the street. What is their life like? What do they do? And expand on that and just do that for yourself. Okay, well, this person looks like this. What type of person are they? Do you like that concept? Let's go right on with it.
Yeah, and no matter which of those methods you choose, no one is better than the other. And as an example of that, I've had fully formed chickens. I've walked into a game. This is how it's going to be. I loved the idea. As I played the character, it just didn't sit well. And that's fine. You can always make tweaks and changes later. But on the other hand, I've walked into games with just a very basic egg, and it ended up being the greatest character I have ever had. And I walked in with zero concept. So just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah. If you're someone who likes to plan, sometimes these are really good ways to go about, doing that in a methodical fashion. If you're more of a winging it sort of person, there's absolutely no harm in that as well. So, kind of dovetailing into that, so I have a concept. Now what do I do? So once you have that really basic concept, you can kind of work on layering, because it's an onion. To take a Shrek term, it's an onion. You want to start making your onion, because you don't want your character to be just one dimension. You want them to have some depth. So
Absolutely.
this is where you take that zygote or that chicken that you have, or that one that's serving all the face, and you figure out where do they come from, where are they rooted at. If they're local to the area, then you want to be really specific about that, because people will ask, are they from Polito, Stab City, Vespucci? Get specific. Other GTA cities, or foreign entirely, and all of those are perfectly valid options. But having that little piece of history can be really useful to you in engaging with other players in the.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you a little bit of something more concrete to grasp onto, so that you can say, yeah, I'm from the Vespucci area. Or you can even say something. Originally I grew up in Stab City, but I worked hard, and I was able to move to the Vespucci Beach. And it gives you something a little bit more concrete to grab onto, and then build off of.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It makes RP a little more immersive for you as well.
Mm-hmm. And then,
go ahead.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, and once you have something like that, go to that next layer. Like Muse said, it's an onion. What you're doing is you're taking a shell, that egg shell, and you're filling it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the next thing you have to think about are, what are the things that would motivate your character? Not you, but your character. So what type of personalities do they have? Are they happy-go-lucky? Are they sully? Are they, the quiet, mysterious stranger? Are they everybody's best friend? And
do they have a deep, dark secret?
So what are their motivations? What are their goals? Are there anything in their past that's haunting them? All of those things can make for wonderful RP situations and to grow your story.
Absolutely. And that also really well dovetails into relationships. So what type of relationships would this character develop or already come into the city with? So that can be a good place for character tie-ins. If you know someone else that is playing in the same game as you, and you are already close, this is a good time to see if there's any way to tie those characters together. You can work with other players. They can be friends, family, mortal enemies. That's a good place to find a foil for your own play, and someone to root your story around if they already have something that's more well established, or there's a concept that you're both working to kind of unravel. That can work really well to tie characters together, or even friendships, because I know that your character Dwarven has a story tie-in with another city resident.
He does, and it's really fun because he and I actually sat down and we talked about these things, and we out of character, or OOC, we actually had a Discord call, and we spoke to each other about what are the things that we know, what are the experiences that we shared, and we even talked about how each of our characters deal with it a little bit differently, but it's nice to have that tie-in, and it also gives other citizens in the city something to discover about you.
Yeah.
Which, that right there is, just as a side note, don't be super quick to give away all of your secrets at one time.
Breadcrumbing. We'll come back.
Yes, breadcrumbing. We will come back. Yes. But yeah, it's a wonderful way, and especially if you're brand new to this type of thing, sometimes you're a little more comfortable coming in with friends and knowing people in the city.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with having that safety net. And a lot of times those can be really enriching and fun stories to tell, especially when you do have the benefit of already having an established, well laid out communication system with it.
Absolutely.
The next point is when you're developing this character, you're adding those layers, you're really getting in there, you're getting all these quirks and social cues down. Then there comes the topic of accents and cultural eccentricity that we layer on top like flavor. These can be super important to a character. They can sell it or they can break it. So it is deeply important that if you're doing an accent of another culture, that you make sure that you are doing that accent both respectfully and well. Because
yeah, absolutely.
You
really don't want somebody. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no, go ahead.
You really don't want to inadvertently offend somebody else of that culture.
Mm-hmm.
So use your best judgment, but you want to make sure that you're not making it a caricature of another culture. You want to be respectful about it, because here's the thing: you're choosing to represent them. Do it is to the best of your ability.
Yes. So accents, cultural eccentricities, the way people dress, the way people, behave. These are all things that, while absolutely please enjoy and engage in all of the stories your imagination can put out there, but do it with respect to the real living humans on the other end of it.
Absolutely.
So, I have my character ready to go. Now what?
Well, I always tell new players, and I still use this to this day, all the time. WWMCD. What would my character do? Always have this in the back of your mind. What would my character do? Not what would Dwarven do, but what would Jameson do? The character that I'm portraying. Because sometimes you get a little lost, and it's just a great way to remind yourself out that character and to grow your story.
Mm-hmm. It's a great way to keep yourself framed within, because a lot of these stories can get very engaging and take us through a wild gamut of emotion. And it's important to keep ourselves rooted in the fact that this is indeed a story and a game. So making sure that we're making decisions not based on what our hearts would do, but on what maybe our hardened criminal or our sweet cat lady would do. And
Absolutely.
that's where the focus should always remain, is on making sure that you're making character based choices, not personal choices.
Yes,
Um,
it's important that
yeah,
everybody really keeps that in the back of your mind, so that way we, you know, get the best experience.
absolutely. And what happens if I've gone through all of this, I've created this character, and I'm just not I'm just not feeling it. Well, that's the time that you take to remember that each character is different, and it's okay to make changes. It's okay to rework something that uh, might not be working for that character the way you thought it would once you actually took them out and piloted them through the world. And that's okay. It's okay to add an accent. That's fine. It's okay to take one away if it's not working. It's okay to change up their wardrobe or their social group if that's not working for you. But that
Absolutely.
that wiggle room period is fairly early, so you'll want to kind of try to work out your kinks as early as you can. But you're never locked into something that you don't like, because you always have to enjoy what you're doing with your free time.
Yeah, absolutely. And and then you're talking about separating yourself from the character and things like that. And I think that now's a good time that maybe we talk about some of the common pitfalls that come with RP. Most especially if you're new, but I can tell you with well over 20 years of experience, actually with between the two of us, well over 40 years of experience,
Woo,
we
sheesh.
see, whew, yeah, we still have to remind ourselves of these things and
Yeah.
sometimes take a step back because emotions are emotions. It's like watching a movie or reading a good book. Sometimes you're angry about something that happens, or sometimes you're sad. That's okay. Emotion is okay. But let's try and, keep these things OOC. Taking things personally OOC is never good. Out of character. For example, um, I know some characters in the game uh, will verbally abuse my character on a regular because I play a police officer. They play criminals. It's what you do. I don't take these things personally because an hour after we're done, playing some RP, we're probably going to be sitting together in a VC playing Fortnite and nothing has changed. Our characters in the city hate each other, but in reality, we're just as close as ever.
Exactly. And that perspective is very important, because feelings will get heightened, alliances will be formed, betrayals will happen. And keeping those within perspective is always wise, because you don't want to be messing up a real friendship over a made up rivalry. Um,
Absolutely.
and this can also lead into another pitfall, which is trying to make your new little baby character's story move way faster than it should. So going from, bam, I created my character, he's out in the world, and I want him to be at the top of the criminal organization. Well, that's that's moving a little too fast, because you're not going to have all of those experiences and all of the things that make up the person that could run that organization, because you have to have the connections in the city, you have to have instilled fear, you have to have done all of these things in order to properly ascend to this position that you want.
Absolutely.
And so trying to force it will often leave both you and the people around you feeling pretty frustrated.
And unfilled with how the whole scene played out.
Hmm.
So, I can tell you this. A good story or good storyline that might be happening for your character can take days, weeks, months to really come to total fruition. Um, Remember, we're here to grow in this city, grow these stories, And that's going to take time, but that's okay. Because, like they say, the journey is the fun.
Yes.
Figuring all these things out. So,
Absolutely.
so don't try to move too fast or give away your backstory to every single person you meet. I don't tell my life story to any weirdo I meet in a bar. Just think of it that way.
Yeah. Make it something that people have to work for a little bit. And one of the great ways I told you we'd come back because we breadcrumbed it earlier was breadcrumbing. This is something that is super useful because you want other people to ask you about your story, but you don't want to give it all away. You want to make sure that, you leave them with a little bit of mystery. So give them a little tidbit. You meet somebody, you start forging a friendship. They ask you where you're from. You got a tragic backstory. You don't want to tell them everything, so you say, I'm from Poughkeepsie. Tell them you killed a man while you were there. And that can be something that you reveal later. That can be something that comes back to haunt you, because that could be something that you could use as a character tie. So many ways you spin it out. You use that information that you've created about your character to progress your story, to deepen intimacies, and reinforce alliances.
Yeah, and not every breadcrumb has to be something spoken.
Mm-hmm.
It could be something as little or as simple as perhaps you have a character that, doesn't drink or doesn't smoke. Maybe there's a reason they don't do that, right? And so you're out at the bars, people give you a drink, and you just hold it. You never drink it. Somebody who might be paying attention might hone in on that. And then they're going to now try and slowly over time unravel or get closer to you and figure out why. And it gives that character, again, even more depth. So what you're doing is you're taking a 1D, which is the idea, you're writing it out into 2D, and then when you flesh everything out, you now have a 3D character that, here's a little spoiler alert, you're going to fall in love with.
Every single one of them. Every single one. Every time. And it doesn't matter whether you start with a chicken, whether you start with an egg, whether you reverse engineer it, whether you just wing it. As long as you are trying to remember what would my character do and having fun with it. And the rules, and making sure you're not taking things too personally, you're going to create a character that's going to be perfect for you.
Absolutely. Just remember, have fun, and try to keep in the back of your mind, what would my character do, WWMCD, and also try to remember that it's not just you in the city. There's stories happening all around you. Go figure them out.
We can't wait to see you deep inside that beehole. Check out our other videos for some more tips. Have a great day.